So we are going to Zaralek Caverns in 10.1. We discovered these Jaradin Elders, and most importantly, the main raid is going to be Aberrus, the Shadowed Crucible. This is the Neltharion's secret lab that everyone is trying to access, and it is incredibly interesting with some potentially huge lore reveals. We will discover old god secrets, secrets of the creation of Azeroth, various dracthyr prototypes, Deathwing's own prototype and how he created his armor, hydras, and even a place for his discarded experiments, amongst other things. However, no one is going here to look at early dracthyr prototypes, but to gather insane power, and this is why the incarnates are so much after it, and most importantly, Iridicron. So what is Deathwing really hiding in his secret lab in Aberrus? What is really going on, and what can we hope to discover? Right now, Gamivo has some amazing sales, which you can check out with my link in the description. You can get The Witcher, anything Warcraft related, gift cards, and a bunch of games at really amazing prices. Best of all, if you use my code Doron, you can add an additional discount as well. So make sure to click my link in the description and check out Gamivo and get some really great deals. So there has been an insane amount of news as Blizzard just came out with a bunch of interviews, new info, the really good news cinematic. Since you guys are following the news, I'm guessing you're already aware of most of them. I'm not going to really repeat what you guys can just read with a click of a button. So I want to discuss the most interesting thing, and that is Aberrus and the fact that we will actually be going into the actual secret laboratory of Deathwing, and we even know the name of it and what was out there. Well, at least we know some early information. However, what I want to discuss is what are these secrets, what will we learn, and what type of experiments are we actually going to find there. At the moment, Blizzard is keeping everything mysterious, but I think this storyline here will really define what Dragonflight is actually going to be about and what will the culmination of the expansion be about. Our speculation from half a year ago turned out to be completely and absolutely correct. We will actually be going underground, and the underground zone is going to be called the Zaralek Caverns. Personally, I think this is amazing because it really reminds me of Azul Nerup, but it is kind of like those vibes, but like 10 times cooler. Like, not cooler in terms of the lore, but the reason it is cooler is because this is actually going to be a massive zone, like a zone where you can use dragon riding, and it is going to be gigantic. According to Blizzard, it is going to be slightly bigger than Zereth Mortis, which personally, I'm super glad they're doing this. It really means that 10.1 is actually going to be a major patch, not just another Cortia add-on, like something you can finish in like a week. Now, what is the most interesting thing is that this will not be instance, so we'll have openings to the caverns from Teldrassus, Azerspan, the Oneran Plains. This is going to be like a deep hole zone, but not access to the portal, which really is unprecedented in World of Warcraft, at least for a zone of this size with underground dragon riding. What I did get wrong though in the past is that Deathwing's lab was in Forbidden Reach. What we just learned is that while Deathwing had facilities and did all sorts of things in Forbidden Reach, for his truly gruesome and really top hidden experiments, he had to dig underground into this ancient Zaralek cavern to create the biggest and the most top secret lab, Aberrus, the Shadowed Crucible. And here, even now, Blizzard told us we will discover a lot of experiments and even hinted at a lot of them. Now, what is super interesting is that this is a mystery, but it's like 5 different sides that are approaching it, and no one but the incarnates, and I'm guessing not even them, know fully what they're really going to discover. First off, we have the rebellious dracthyr that are going there to reclaim the legacy of Neltharion that they believe is theirs, and it kinda is theirs in a way. Then we have the incarnate that we still don't know what they seek at the moment, but in my opinion, I believe they want to learn what Neltharion did to get empowered, and they want to take on the void powers themselves so that they can get strong enough to face off against the aspects and the Titan Order. If you noticed, in the cinematic, they said they don't want to underestimate us, which really is kind of a first in all World of Warcraft history. And I think they aren't going to face off against us alone, but instead they want to bring on the Black Empire, the old gods, but of course, that is just speculation at the moment. Then, we have the Black Dragonflight that is trying to reclaim their legacy to learn about Neltharion, and most importantly, there are us that are trying to stop the first two and also learn what Neltharion was hiding, because as far as we know, no one knows what was going on in Aberrus other than Neltharion and what the secret laboratory was all about. However, even now, we know what some of the experiments were, and we have some indications. As we had discovered with the various documents from 10.0.7, as we all know, the true thing Neltharion was studying was the Void, the Titan Lies, and he was empowering himself through the old gods. However, Aberrus wasn't a study room, but in fact, this seems to be like a prison laboratory thing. Most importantly, we learned from dracthyr documents he experimented on them, but Blizzard just told us in the interview that he will discover all sorts of dracthyr prototypes, like the early versions, the discarded versions, and what it took to reach the form that they are today. This is very reminiscent of Zereth Mortis, and very likely we will find dracthyr prototypes, which will give us a lot of insight into their creation. Then we learned that apparently hydras will be found in Aberrus, which, in my opinion, is super interesting. Hydras are some of the most iconic Warcraft 3 mobs, and personally, my speculation why they're in Aberrus is because Deathwing found their multiple heads and abilities to regenerate fascinating and potentially super useful. He more than likely tried to infuse dragons with him, and as we had seen much later down the line, there were multiple headed dragons that were created, so this could also be a super interesting finding. Plus, as you may know from the lore, hydras have some heavy old god origins, although this is a bit more on the vague side. However, the coolest discovery that Blizzard hinted at is a prototype Deathwing that Neltharion had created personally. Now, when I say prototype, this is like a prototype robot from like Zereth Mortis, but it seems like Neltharion had literally captured a dragon and then infused him with metal plates to see just how resilient his armor is that we had later seen him using. So, the unfortunate dragon probably was on the receiving end of a Q&A testing so that his armor can be perfect. The only issue with this is that Blizzard said that this is an elementium dragon and he had elementium plates, but that really was only the case in Cataclysm early on. Deathwing had adamantium steel plates that the Goblin Smiths forged, so this could definitely be a bit of a mistake on Blizzard's part because it is still in the PTR. However, at the same time, it might not actually be a mistake. Maybe Deathwing originally wanted elementium plates, but it was not finished through this experiment, so he got the adamantium ones, and then 10,000 years later his original plan came to be. Really, this is a minor detail, but it will be very interesting to discover this dragon, this early version of the Deathwing monstrosity. Now, this was not even mentioned in an interview, but we had discovered that Neltharion had also experimented with Azerite, and we found Azerite on the Dragon Isles, which I think is just going to be a huge implication for the lore. I mean, sure, we all know about the old god stuff, but I'm guessing we're going to learn something about the world soul that Deathwing knew, which is actually going to probably be the most interesting and the most crucial information for the expansion to progress. So, other than the main laboratory, Zaralek Caverns is a massive zone. There are 3 regions that are notable. Most importantly, there are the sulfur pools that was like the disposal site for failed experiments of Neltharion. So, other than Aberrus, I think these sulfur pools are going to be a great source of new lore as well, as we could learn what worked, what didn't work, and we could discover all sorts of really interesting experiments and really like get into the mind of Neltharion. Furthermore, unrelated to Deathwing, we had just discovered the volcanic region of the caverns, and it was confirmed that those Jarradine Elders are going to be there. If you may remember, we learned about these guys a few months back, and there was a lot of speculation about them. Originally, I speculated that these could be elemental lords, which would bring the elementals big time into the Dragonfight, but from the looks of it, it seems like these guys are just going to be very big and powerful Jarradine that are going to play probably not that big of a role, like a not that relevant side role in the expansion. Firelink the Blazing, the Incarnate, is going to be the main guy of this patch, which almost certainly means that he is probably just going to be a disposable villain. And I'm almost sure that Iridikron is going to be the guy that is going to do the big thing, so like the actual brain behind the operation. Apparently, Firelink discovered a lava pool and he really empowered himself, which will cause big problems across the entirety of the Dragon Isles. However, most importantly, just how Iridikron did it in the past, he will rally over the Jarradine and almost certainly ally himself with these Jarradine Elders. Now, 10.1 is going to come out in like a day on the PTR, so we are set to discover a ton of new information, and I think a lot of this will be incredibly relevant for the lore. However, I think they're saving the real spoilers and the cinematics and what will more than likely unravel old god stuff for the actual patch release, which is definitely good. However, I do think we're going to discover more documents and a bunch more potential hints into what Deathwing has really been working on. Thank you for watching. Check out the potential for dracthyr tanks and new classes by clicking on the screen, and check out Doronsmovies Academy for videos on real world history. See you next time.